focus on the frame that you are operating in. Because a lot of times when we start to talk about coaching and goal setting and framing, we focus on the frame that's aligned with the target or the component of the target. The frame I'm talking about now is actually the same frame. I've had this conversation like 4 times this week. It's the frame of how you are operating in your process. Hi, this is Jason Drees with the Do the Impossible podcast. Great to see you again this week. Remember, go to MondayMindsetReset.com to join me every Monday at 10 a.m. Central for a 15-minute mental mindset adjustment by me. It's free. Go sign up now. Today, this week, I've got a coaching session with you with an amazing client of mine that I've been working with for a few years. His name is Travis. Travis is a successful entrepreneur. And since my last event, he's been a little bit stuck in resistance and being unable to create a future vision. Watch this session on how I help Travis get into alignment with not just where he's going, but where he is now. All right, Travis, good to see you again.
Good to see you too, Jason.
Yeah, so what should we talk about today in coaching? I know I've shared a little bit about my process of growth I've been going through lately with focusing in getting stuck in some of my soft spots. Kind of what's been going on with you?
So since the live event, one thing that you had mentioned in the actual live event was being in resistance with your starting point. Mm-hmm. And, I do feel a resistance with that starting point. And as it relates to a limited mindset with my future vision for myself, as well as some of my businesses. So, my soft spot is starting, being in resistance with that particular starting point. And thought that we could, explore that a little bit more from the live event, based on, to our call today.
Yeah. So that the live event was about 6 weeks ago. So where are you feeling that resistance?
So it is defining whatever my future vision is for myself and in my businesses. I've been, relatively successful through personal and business stuff. And it's figuring out where I want to go from this point. And for whatever reason, I've been in resistance to defining that future vision.
Is that like in general or one specific business or all businesses?
Generally speaking, some of the notes that I took in October and then I've been thinking about since then were, limitation of my distractions, whether it be friends or family or social media or, work is a big distraction for me because I will just bury myself within it and, insulate myself from, other things that may or may not be more important. So it's limitation from distractions, loving myself, being fearless, creating a legacy and a legacy that, that I can be proud of, building something for my employees that they can, build and, be proud of themselves. And then just, overall gratitude for, what I'm doing. So I've written all these things down and I'm in limitation, I've got it all written down, but I don't know where to go, to this next spot. I don't know if it's an easy mindset shift or what.
Give me an example of what if you have written down? Give me one area that's written down that you don't know what the first step is. Is that right? You're not sure what the first step is?
I guess it's defining the vision for a personal and business life down the road. I'm comfortable with everything that I've got right now, but it's, where do I go from here?
Is it that you're not sure which one to choose or you have no idea where to start?
Probably both.
Why does it matter right now?
It doesn't necessarily matter right now. I've always, been one to plan accordingly, with the end of the year around the corner, along with everybody else in the world, it's time to, set some realistic expectations or goals or a vision for yourself. Mm-hmm. And I've been thinking about this for months. It's where do I go now? Because I do have great plans in place, but as far as my business goes, I just don't know how to get it to.
So so as far as your future destination you're aiming at,
Mm-hmm.
your current frame is out of alignment with that, identifying with that destination, right? Because you don't know where it is, right?
Right.
Like you're like right now, you are operating in a frame that either thinks or knows or wants a clear future vision, right? Like today. So you are operating right now in a frame that believes one of your next important steps is to define your future vision of what's next.
Correct.
Okay. You're not getting an answer to that right now.
Correct.
Okay. So that means, and the event was 6 weeks ago. So it may be exciting to define the future vision, and it may be exciting to have a little more clarity on where you're going, but right now life's not giving it to you.
Right. And, through coaching with you for the past several years,
Mm-hmm.
One of the very first things that you taught me was, honestly getting out of my own way.
Yeah.
Being out of my own way has allowed me to, have exponential success since we started coaching.
Mm-hmm.
I get, you said something a second ago about being in a frame of, a current frame of mind where I need to figure something out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I've had success, I feel like I need to figure something out. And being open to the path and whatever life provides is where I need to be. And that's the mindset that I need to be in, the frame that I need to be in, that just allow things to flow through the way they should, and not necessarily be super or hyper focused on the vision.
Well, it's also noticed that where you are today from when we met a few years ago, your path to getting to this point was all in the known.
Sure.
Right? It was known, meaning you knew what to do. Like you were back then, I remember you were buying properties like crazy. You were starting, you had left oil and gas. You were going to real estate. You were acquiring properties, and your future vision was turning into a syndication. That was all known, right?
Correct.
You're at the point now where you're at the unknown, right? Because you've hit syndication. Known is what you know how to do, and you knew because you've been studying real estate. So you can buy and flip, you can wholesale, you can syndication, and you built a syndication, and it's growing. Yeah, but now you've hit that. Now it's like, what's next? It's like literally, it's almost the exact same thing that happened to Brandon at the end of last year, where he built his syndication too. Now he's like, what's next? I don't know, because that's where the evolution of you starts to come in. And when you start moving, because you're already at a high level of success in business and financially, and you've hit pretty much everything you've aimed at, as far as that I'm aware of.
Correct.
And now, and that was exciting and fulfilling, and it completes you and it drives you, and that's your mission in life, to grow and expand and have fun and live. And I know that because you're an awesome person, and that's great. But the next section is an evolution in your mode of operation, because you already have money, right? Chasing more money may not light you up the same way as it did. Maybe a little bit more. Maybe I don't have a gold-plated jet yet, but for the most part, you live in abundance. And this next evolution could be, multiple syndications or whatever. But what's most likely is an evolution into some new passion that's going to rise up, and that is a process of discovery. It's a journey. It's like before, you were climbing the mountain and you could see the mountain right in front of you, and you could see, you got binoculars and you can see all the sections of the mountain. Right now, you don't even see a mountain. You just see a path that's going straight. So you're not far enough along the path yet to see the next peak.
Define a new vision. Next peak. Okay.
So the answer on how to do that is to simply be in. Now, I can say enjoy your life and enjoy the process, but saying that to an entrepreneur is kind of funny, but it's ridiculous. But the way to really operate is to focus on the frame that you are operating in. Because a lot of times when we start to talk about coaching and goal setting and framing, we focus on the frame that's aligned with the target or the component of the target. The frame I'm talking about now is actually the same frame. I've had this conversation 4 times this week. It's the frame of how you are operating in your process. Because the frame you started this call with was I'm having resistance to my starting point because I can't get clarity on this future vision. Because that was operating from a frame that you needed clarity on your vision before you could move forward. That's the frame.
Mhm.
That's the old frame. As opposed to a frame that's like, oh, I always find my vision. And if I can't see my vision yet, it's not time to see it. So then I take whatever actions I can take.
It's interesting. Not seeing the vision and not being ready for it, or an interesting frame to be in a way to think about things. And just being open, you mentioned earlier, enjoy life. I mean, I do enjoy life. I get to take my kids to school every day. I'm home every day when they get home from school. We get to go do golf and gymnastics and a lot of different things because I have worked hard and allowed myself to enjoy life and be with it. It's always, as an entrepreneur, it's what's next. I've got very ambitious plans for the brokerage and the syndications and things like that. It's getting to that next level. Beyond that, I guess, is where my vision is limited because I don't know what's going to happen. The vision that I have for the brokerage is, anywhere between 30 minutes in the next, 6 to 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And getting past that point is where I'm having resistance. It's interesting.
Well, life's got to create growth in you somehow. So it's already, you've grown as much as you could from the current path. But what this is really about, my hallucination, right or wrong, is it's really an evolution of your default mode of operation. Because a lot of times entrepreneurs operate in the frame of, this is not enough, I can fix this, it can be better than this. And that's a frame we all live in. We all have. That's how the entrepreneur, you're successful. You see it differently, then you go make it happen. And that mode of operation got you to here. Right now, that mode of operation isn't working. And from what I'm seeing from the outside, this next piece is more of like a discovery and fully immersion into your present life right now. Because as an entrepreneur, it's very easy to live your life in the future. You've done it. I've done it. You've probably spent years living in your future like I have. As opposed to the shift right now. And the reason why I know this is because I'm talking to everybody about this is the shift that's going on. It's a theme right now. Same, it's happening for me. It's less about the sacrifice for the future and all of this, but it's really, are you living your life how you want to live it right now in this moment? So it's so the focus that may be permanent or may be temporary, it's instead of architecting your future, it's architecting your present.
So focus more on present day.
Because we're also operating in a different reality, right? Before we were operating in the action creates reality. So you would take action and then action would create your reality. But we know recently it's changed. We can now access the frame level. So we're unwinding that pattern of action creates reality and moving into the reality where your frequency, your frame creates the reality. So the frame of you in this present moment determines what comes next. So your job right now is to put yourself into a frame as consistently as you can, where you will think what you want to think, where you will know what you want to know, and where you will do what you want to do. This is life challenging you to level up your frequency and how you live life. Because you've already, the vision, target, conquer, that's done. You already conquered that. You're at the next lesson. The next lesson is shifting who you are to create that reality out of you. And when you're starting out right now, it's going to really challenge your entrepreneur nature, because your entrepreneur nature is like trying to fix something or solve something. But this new way is like you're embodying, oh, it's amazing. Why? I don't know. Business is even more amazing. I have even more amazing people on the team. I have more opportunities. I'm making more impact, and I have even more free time. What does that look like? I don't know, but it is going to happen.
So our building should be done hopefully in the next couple of weeks to where we can start moving in just after Christmas into the first of the year. And to me, that is super exciting because of all the employees that we've got. They're, either in other offices or working from home or whatever the case may be. Once the brokerage is actually done and our building is done, everybody's going to be able to come into one centralized spot, work together. And that is exciting to me to go to the next step. in being present within that moment is going to allow me to, not only continue to build that business, but pour into our agents and the business that they build to create a legacy for themselves.
Nice.
That part of it is, it's exciting to me. I've been thinking so far in the future because I've already got plans for the immediate future.
Mm-hmm.
That taking a step back and in living in present day is where I need to be. It's not a resistance with a starting point. It's a resistance with just living life today.
Yeah. And that there's some lessons there. There's some resistance there to the present that you're trying to avoid. No, it's not big. It's
right.
It's but it's certain things are it's more satisfying for men to go slay dragons than be a dad. They're different types of our natures, right? But this is the phase of getting into balance. So it may look out of proportion, like you need to really focus on being present, even though you're a great dad. It may feel like this big shift. It's actually more subtle than that. It's really just, and then focusing on the present right now isn't just you meditating all day. It's just moving into the frame where you're more present, and moving into the frame where what's more important than the future is how you live now. Because when we're constantly trying it to be different, there's resistance to the present moment. So you're not creating at your full capacity. But when you're completely satisfied in the present, and then once you have everything you need and you don't need anything else, that's when life gives you everything. So we're not talking about re-architecting your day.
Right. We're
talking about a slight adjustment of how you view your day. But when you start to get out of the mindset of more, it feels like you're stopping and not doing anything. When in fact, you're actually creating even faster. Because we're starting it in an aligned point instead of a place of action to get into alignment.
Definitely not the path that I thought we'd head down. That's usually that way.
It is. There's themes. It's the same theme for me. It's the same for others. Like I'm seeing a lot of a lot of my other elite clients, like the chasing isn't working anymore. And what you're actually doing right now is actually the path to faster growth than you've ever had before. Because the way we get faster growth is we have less resistance to it occurring. And we become more open to multiple directions. And the reason you can't see a vision right now, because you're not in the right frequency to see it. So this is where we double down on our understanding of framing. And we have to remind ourselves over and over again to let go of strategy and let go of action. Because we're so conditioned to living in the action reality. We're focused on strategy, action. Now it's all about shifting into the version of you that knows how. Because the second you shift into that version, you instantly know how. You know what that's like. You've done it lots of times, over and over again, right? So that's the game now, is shifting into that version instead of trying to solve the version that doesn't know. Because my guess is since the event 6 weeks ago, you've been trying to solve the misalignment in the version of you where the answer doesn't exist.
Correct.
That's why we should talk more often. Just saying.
Just throw that out there.
Just throw that out there. But it's all new because we've never done that before. Like it's a new mode, right?
It is.
Because like literally, you're literally one moment from another wow idea, like one moment. But if you're like in the moment of it's not there, it will never show up.
It's a very true statement. That limited mindset, and it will never show up.
Yeah, and let's not call it limited mindset. Let's call it the reaction mindset.
Okay.
Because it's reacting to the present instead of aligning with what's next. For example, I don't have enough money, right? If someone says I don't have enough money, they're looking at their bank account right now. I don't have enough money. That's a reaction.
Sure.
Right? Money is a process. So even a person could be looking at their bank account saying, I don't have enough money. They could be a phone call away from $1 million deal, but they're in reaction to it. So that's why our conversation today, I actually told you about how I was in reaction and I was running in reaction. So the reactions you're having usually, because basically the old way of life is like, look at your present life, have a reaction, and then take action. The new way is have a reaction, process the reaction, move into alignment, and then continue. And each time you get triggered with a reaction is not regression, because I'll get you as best to aligned I can on this call, but I can't align you on this call for next week.
Right.
So I'll get you into alignment as best as possible on this call. And then when the next time you get out of alignment based on a reaction, that's the next area to grow, because life's giving you, hey, you're still reacting to this. Because if you look at your bank account, you could see money and go, no money, and go, oh my God. I use money because it's an easy example. But like, you could also know that, hey, well, money, I just need to do another deal and it's easy for me to do deals. So when you grow, that reaction doesn't hit you anymore.
Right. Money grows on trees that you plant.
It grows on trees and it falls out of the sky. It's everywhere. Other people can plant them too. I'm okay with that.
Sure.
You can also find a forest and it can literally grow when you're not paying attention.
From the first live event, the biggest thing that I took out of it was being present within the daily, the daily grind, the going all the way back to the first event and just being present, whether it's, with Courtney and the kids or within work or my employees or whatever the case may be. It follows, everything falls back on just a handful of principles, and it's not being in reaction made me forget to be present with everything daily.
Some of the tools you can use are values.
Right.
Create value. Values are really good. And values are boundaries, right? And you can also focus on habits. I think it's really funny. You'll probably be laughing or shocked to hear me talk about habits because I've resisted structure so much in my past. But right now, because there's a story behind that. But there was misalignment, right? I was resisting things. But so the way that you the way you move into this new mode of operation is literally just a simple frame shift of like, can you get a sense of the version of you who, number one, knows what I'm talking about and understands that the present creates the future, and understands that while the present creates the future, the present is not an indicator of the future. So the move is to just, and it could be a morning routine thing where you're just like, you frame shift. And if you ever don't know what to frame shift, just frame shift to the version that does know, or the version that's a higher frequency than you. So we want to start pulling that in. Can I get a sense of the version of me that's aware of when I get out of balance between work and home life? Yeah. Can I get a sense of the version of me that enjoys the process of discovering my next vision? Yeah. So it's really about like architecting and protecting the frame you're operating in the present.
So for you to start establishing habits and not done it previously, you're shifting your frame either in the mornings, evenings, afternoons, whatever the case may be, probably consistently throughout the day, if I had to guess, just to remind yourself to create those habits. Is that
No, I wish I was that disciplined.
Okay.
But there was, I forget, I had this breakthrough a while back, but it was like, there was self-validation based on the cool things I could do and the cool flow, the content I could flow and things like that. So there was always a love to be in that space because it was so powerful. But I've started to realize that being in that space all the time doesn't make it special. And it's also was killing me to be in that space all the time energetically. And I realized that I'd been building my business for everybody but me. I've been building the business for the employees to be happy and all my clients to be happy at my sacrifice. So, and like the last event was like the culmination of that, where I felt like a whore after that event. I felt like everybody was happy for the most part, except for me, because I was deprioritizing myself. And I realized, so getting the self-validation through the free-flowing greatness that I do got me this far. But what I want to do next is get my life back. So the way I get my life back is with systems and consistency, and save the magic for where I want to use it and not just giving it away everywhere. So I am shifting my habits and my focus, and frame shifting not as much as you think. But I'm also breaking down some of my old beliefs I've carried for a long time, that I'm not good at structure and systems and stuff like that. So there's a lot of simplification and clarification in my business going on that's been happening over the past 6 weeks, because it's just got way too confusing. So I'm in the process of unwinding that right now.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
And I've had some really interesting calls with my coach named Dustin Runyon, who is an amazing, he used to be one of my clients, now he's my coach, one of my coaches. And he's really big on values. And I realized when I wasn't valuing, I didn't have any values because I was sacrificing myself for everything, for success. That same scarcity mindset that I created in 2014 when we were struggling financially, like we're struggling to buy food. I was still operating that way, even though I've created all this success. So it was me learning how to stop living in the future and chasing success, was unwinding the desire and resistance to that, but bringing more present. And that's why I'm coaching you on that stuff, because that's what I'm going through. But I've also become very sensitive for self-judgment of myself. So I am very cautious not to do self-judgment, because I know what I did today was the best I could do. So I am doing everything in my power to build in habits and rituals. Like I'm running every day. I use my cold plunge tub every day. I do, things like that. And taking care of myself was the top priority. And that's why the habits and rituals and values is starting to give me a self-validation that feels greater than anything external. And I'm in the process of doing my best to manage the confused business I built in the past into this new version that simplifies everything with the crazy workload right now, because it's intense.
So something that Dustin coached you on was values. And some of the things that my partners and I went through and defined was our vision and values for our brokerage, which ultimately is going to dovetail to every one of our entities. And that particular vision is a life well pursued. And within a life well pursued, some of the things that I wrote down in October, or actually the second thing that I wrote down, was just loving myself, which I mentioned earlier. But underneath that, it was taking care of my mind and my body, similar to you, where you're doing the cold plunge or, just going for a run or whatever the case may be. That is one thing that I haven't done. I need to come back to what we were talking about earlier, was being present every day and shifting into the frames, the frame to where I just live a life well pursued every single day. And it has different meanings every day.
Excellent. And let's also make it easy and not hard.
Sure. Because
your best is different on different days. And maybe it's as simple as doing a morning routine or updating your morning routine about that. Repeat after me's are good, or frame shifting is good, but also create like 3 values. It's hard to incorporate more values than that. And here's an exercise you can use, is you can get a sense of the version of you that's operating how you want to be. Now that version could be in the future or in the past. And it can be non-specific, like I'm aligned. I wake every day, goes, oh my God, that's a life well pursued. I'm present here. Like, so get a sense of the parts of your life operating how you want them to be. Mostly with you feeling how you want to feel. I feel great because it's completed, or whatever that is, right?
Right.
And when you get a sense of that version of you, you can ask yourself, what does this version of me value? What does that version of you value? And you'll kick out some values. And you may get 1, you may get 5. But if you get 5, I would pick the most important one. And if like 2 or 3 are important, then like you may come up with a list of 10, but what actually happens is, like, if you have a list of 10 or 12 values, there's usually 2 or 3 that will make you hit all the rest automatically. Like for me, like one of the values I'm working with is self-respect. And now it was like, behind it was like, not pleasing other people, prioritizing myself, but self-respect hits all of those automatically. prioritizes my time, makes me not sacrifice myself. So there's these like anchor values that will hit all the others. So you can run that exercise, or I can help you on a future call, but like, it's like get in touch with that future version and just say, what does that person value?
Mm-hmm.
And then when you identify the values, and maybe you get down to 3, what you want to do is then execute one consistently for like a week, for 10 days. You do that one value, something 3 times a day for the next 10 days. And after that, then you could do the next value. And that will start to integrate it. Because if you try to live 5 values from the start, it won't work. Does that make sense?
It does.
Is this helpful?
It is very helpful.
Okay. So you clear on what to do next?
I am.
Excellent. All right. I enjoyed our conversation today, Travis. I'll talk to you on our next call.
Sounds good. Talk soon, Jason.
See you, bud. Bye. Thanks for listening to the Do the Impossible podcast. I hope you enjoyed this coaching session. Join me next week as we continue this dive into the evolution of success and as we learn how to do impossible things. Don't forget to get your own introductory momentum coaching session. Go to freeintrosession.com. That's freeintrosession.com to sign up now. I'm Jason Drees. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.